Galen Hour. This is episode 2 of season 4, and we're focusing on digital marketing. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. We have with us tonight as our guest and our special guest coming in from the island of San Pedro, Laurie, also known as Taco Girl. Laurie, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And Maynor, Larrieu is here with us. Maynor is our co-host for this season, and it's always a pleasure to have Maynor on with us this morning. Welcome, Maynor.
Thank you and good night, everyone.
I'm Diana Gomez-Perry-Feet. I'm your host for the Galen Hour. Just a reminder, the Galen Hour is a production of Galen University. It promotes academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning. We look forward to sharing information with you this season, and thank you for joining us. So welcome. By inviting Laurie to tell us a little bit about why she got a blog started and how that is going. Laurie?
Thank you. As far as starting my blog, when I started, I didn't really think of it in terms as a business, and how I started is just for creative purposes and for friends and family back in Canada. And I thought it would be a good way for them to see a bit of our lives here. At the time, I still am, a member of the ambergeeskey.com message board, and nobody was really blogging in Belize at the time. So my blog took off rapidly among all the travelers and people who had come and fell in love with Belize, and they were hungry to see more. So instantly that made me think, okay, this is more than just personal now, and I took it and ran.
Perfect. No, I think there's a huge opportunity in blogging, and I've met other bloggers who come and go from Belize. But what made you decide to, stay in Ambergeeskey? Because you've been here, 16 years?
16 years, and I'm a dual citizen now, Canadian and Belizean.
Perfect.
And what made me decide to stay is just the country is so beautiful and the people are so friendly. And my first vacation of 3 weeks here, I had decided before it was over that this was it.
Wonderful. It's always a pleasure to meet people who've come to Belize and love it so much that they make Belize home. We know how wonderful Belize is, and Laurie, we're happy to hear that you're a citizen now. So congrats on that. For blogging, how do you even know what to write about? I know we're often advised to get a blog started. It's always good for your institution, for your business, but how do you know what to write about? Is it just some things that you're interested in, or do you pick it based on what you think the market needs? How does that work?
It's a combination, and because I'm writing for various people, which include people who live on the island, travelers, and people who are looking to do the same thing, which is move abroad, be it Belize or elsewhere, there's common advice that you can help and give people. And for the days that you're really stuck, there are books out there. I have one when I was first starting out that I bought called Nobody Cares What You Had for Lunch. And it's just a very short book, and it's all about ideas of blogging. So you can just open it to any page and see what it says and take the prompt and do some writing.
Perfect. And I think you mentioned a couple of key things. One, you're passionate about writing. Am I correct?
Yes.
And two, you wanted to share. So one of the other things you mentioned also was you started your blog, maybe not with a business sense behind it. And looking back, you've been blogging more than 10 years, right? 15 years thereabout. What has been some of the most difficult struggles with getting started, you would say?
The challenge for me in getting started, one of the things is that I was not so technically savvy on the website end. And I've grown through leaps and bounds in that. And the other big challenge for me is that I have a learning disability and I have dyslexia. And so that was a challenge because when you're writing for personal, it's a different story. But then when you realize you're doing this and really trying to put your best foot forward for many people, it's really helped me to learn about myself and grow a lot in that respect.
Perfect. I have so many more questions.
Yeah, I have a quick one. So, why Taco Girl? How did you? Is that a name that you were referred to beyond the blog? Is that just a name you selected for the blog? I know taco. We love tacos in Belize,
Yes.
but no. Tell us a little bit about that.
How that came about, again, the message board that I had mentioned earlier, I needed a name to join. And my first thought was Beach Girl because I'm at the beach, which was taken. So I thought for a second and thought, okay, aside from the beach, what else is something I really love? And food was the first word that popped into my head. And all of a sudden, right after, tacos. So I thought, okay, that's it. I'm becoming Taco Girl. So the name came before the business and the blog.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that story. Good.
And, one of the things with blogging, a lot of people, like yourself perhaps, start out of passion, writing about things you see or experiences you've had. But looking back, did you really have like a blogging strategy or a content strategy? Most people, when they get started, and a lot of our viewers perhaps might be itching to start a blog, but how do they go about writing without getting writing fatigue, right? What would you say, or what can you share with us in that regards?
Well, back when I started, I was very green and I knew almost nothing. So I really had no strategy. However, you can do it that way, but I do recommend a bit of foresight and planning, especially with all the resources out there today. And so as far as a content strategy goes, I would detail a little bit out. I like to work between a paper notebook and pen, and then on my computer, Google Keep is a very good app that syncs with your Gmail to make notes in. So to make a bit of a strategy, who are you aiming your blog for, and what type of things do you know or think that they would want to be reading about? So for example, somebody coming on vacation would have a different interest than somebody who's planning to move abroad.
Definitely. And one of the things that I know, and maybe I want to ask you this too, is, from the several blogs you've probably written over the years, which all have been perhaps the more popular or has gotten the most traffic or hits on your blog, or the most feedback or engagement, looking back at your 15-year trajectory?
One of my biggest engagements was actually getting my citizenship.
Oh, the recent
Everybody
one.
tuned into that, so that was a big deal.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. So you do have a large following, you would say mostly from North America?
Yes, US would be my top and Canada second,
Okay.
and then comes Belize
Perfect.
and other countries follow.
Okay. And in regards to, we get a lot of entrepreneurs who are watching the show tonight, and for them, some might say, what, I don't have the resources to invest, because really you need to have time, the creativity to put it all together. But how can blogging convert, or how have you been able to, for lack of a better word, monetize your blog for it to be sustainable? Have you been able to reach that?
As far as being in Belize goes, and again, this would vary depending on what you're doing and where you're working. Picking up freelance work is a good way to help sustain your blog that could be related. For example, working for resorts or other companies that may also have a blog or could benefit from having one. Is one way. Advertising is a common way. There's also affiliate sales, which can work through Amazon or, for example, travel insurance. And many companies will do referrals for commissions. So if you build up a strong readership and you have people coming to you for certain things, you could be helping them book at places and receive a commission for doing that as well.
Okay. So those are a couple of the ways that you can become sustainable. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned something key. You said build up a readership.
Yes.
How does one build up a readership? I mean, there's so many online outlets in this day and age, right? How do you stand out from the norm?
For that, it's important to tap into your own creativity and find out what you're good at as far as writing goes, sort of what areas work, and who you want to portray yourself as a person. For example, part of my blog, I really wanted to have a genuine, authentic feel to it. So I'm not going to name names, but I was writing about a resort, and I mentioned about a pile of leaves that was on my walkway. Now, some people might get upset about that. For me, it was a great thing because that was my landmark. There's the pile. Mm-hmm. I don't mind it being there, and now I know this is my cabana. So I try to, because that's a common thing that I've heard occasionally over the years, is people say, oh, a resort's inviting you to stay there, and you just give it a glowing review with everything. So for me personally, it was, and still is, about trying to find a balance. You don't want to be intentionally mean, but you still want to portray being honest.
Correct. And I think your readers, it's not all, positive, enthusiastic writing. I think they also, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they also want to know the good and the bad.
Yes.
Right? And I think when you do that, you as a writer become more credible, and then your readership perhaps grows, right?
Yes, and some of the work I've done in my volunteer aspect of blogging and portraying certain areas on the island that are economically challenged, and a lot of people didn't want to see that, and I actually had that brought to my attention through an email that I shouldn't be writing about that. Oh, wow. And I just respectfully agreed to disagree because people need help. Mm-hmm. And who better to help than people who are getting the word out to lots of people?
Yeah. And before we go on a break, you're mentioning something that a lot of people starting a blog don't realize they kind of have to. You kind of have to find your path away, your content writing and your pillars. So it seems to me like you have your audience very well structured and you know who you're writing for. But how are you able to define, these are the content pillars, if you may, that I want to be writing about, and I'll give you an example. I'm not going to write about sports. I'm not going to about politics. I'm not going to write about anything else but these 4 or 5 content pillars. How did you decide that?
For me, that kind of evolved naturally. And again, I say that because I went in not knowing what I was doing, and I was only doing it for personal reasons. So I didn't even really think about categories and tags and all that at the start. Now, if I started different, I would definitely be planning out my categories and targeting more of who I want to follow and everything. So for those just starting out, that's something to consider. And again, it can get like a wild octopus with lots of tentacles. So really try and keep yourself general and focused when you're starting out. It's okay to add more as you go along, but it's harder to take away in a respect if you get too unwieldy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this conversation is quite interesting. I believe it's Blogging is something that we're all encouraged to do. We've heard from Laurie how she got started, and we'll hear a bit more about how important blogging is and who should be blogging. But we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with the Galen.
Become a member of the Galen Eagle Alumni Association. Reconnect with your fellow classmates. Rediscover the Galen Eagle spirit and reawaken your inner eagle. Come home, come celebrate. 20 years of excellence with Galen University. For more information, contact 636-8881.
Galen University offers a variety of quality academic programs. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or give us a call at 615-3129 or 614-6415 for more information. Apply today and come soar with our Galen Eagles.
It's never too late to accomplish your dreams. Apply today. Come soar with the Galen Eagles. To learn more about our various programs, contact us at 824-3226, 615-3129, or 614-6415. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz. Galen University, promoting academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're talking about content writing and blogging. We have Laurie, Talker Girl, with us, and Maynor, Larrieu, who is our guest host. So I want to jump right back into the conversation we were having and ask Laurie to tell us a little bit about who should be blogging. I know blogging has become, and well, of course, content is always important, but how do we know if we should expend that energy and time to do a blog for our business? Laurie, what would you recommend?
I would say for most businesses, blogging is a good idea. However, you have to make it work with your framework of who your business is and what you do. And also, I would say set yourself up for success, because so many people start blogging and think it's a good idea, and I do believe it is for many reasons. But then they let it die off and it just becomes dead air too fast.
Gotcha. And if you could share some of the tools that you've used in your experience, really help you perhaps get organized, and then maybe use keywords, right? A lot of people don't know much about keywords when they start blogging. But what are some of the tools that have helped you evolve your blog? If you could share some, not
Sure.
all, just a few.
Since you mentioned keywords, Google keyword research. I think it's Keyword Planner, to look things up and see how much things are searched and give you other alternatives. And the whole Google platform. I love Google Drive and Google Keep and Google Tasks, and they all sync with your Gmail. So if you're writing something on your phone and you switch to your laptop, if you're in your Gmail, it comes on the side panel, and so you can easily access your information. That's very useful. There are different things that you can use to help inspire you to write content. there's a good person who I look up. He's on YouTube called Neil Patel. And he is a very successful ad agency guy and has tons of videos and resources to help you build your business and your blog successfully. And another good little known resource, which I learned at the B2B Digital Marketing Summit a few years back, is a website called Harrow, which is Help a Reporter Out. And so by joining that, and this is a good tip for new bloggers who are looking to help get established and get some traction and maybe some links to your website. When you subscribe to Harrow, you click off the things that apply to you topic-wise. So for example, travel is the big one I would mention that I check off. And you can get daily emails from them. And people, for example, New York Times or other places who are looking for information and help on different topics, you can apply with a short paragraph as to what they're looking for, and then see if your chances are to get accepted, and that would go on their website with a link back promoting your blog. And if it doesn't get accepted, you just recycle and repurpose it into your own content.
Tell us a little bit, I know you mentioned backlinks, and perhaps a lot of our viewers may not have the understanding as to why is it so important to have backlinks to your blog. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Having good backlinks is important for Google and search engine optimization purposes. So having quality links from another website to yours is very good to help you build authority within the internet, and it's all the technical invisible side of things that helps. But also linking from your website to yourself. So for example, you post a relevant article about going to a specific tour, and let's say, for example, ziplining. You post an article about ziplining and how great it was, but then you may have a tag at the bottom saying, if you're not quite this adventurous, you might like cave tubing instead, where you can just glide down the river easily. And so that will not only help people find more content on your blog, but again, it's good for the invisible side of Google and having everything sort of meshed together and
that is
all that internet energy that flows around.
That is so true. And if I'm not mistaken, the term is author rank, right? The more you write, the more authority online you have or not. And
Yes.
so I think when you get backlinks from a bigger web page, it sort of like rubs on you because a bigger authority, online writer authority, is making reference to your blog.
Yes.
And so Google algorithm does pick up on those type of things. And a lot of people don't understand how important it is. Not only the external links linking back to your blog, but also internal links, like you mentioned, which also help to drive traffic to those referred to as thinner content blogs.
And something probably not a lot of people do in regards to linking. If you wrote something and you really didn't have anything that you were thinking of that you wanted to link back content-wise on your blog, you could still do simple links on your photographs within the mechanics of the picture to just add a link and have it there without it being super visible.
Correct.
I mean, you led me right into a question I wanted to ask. So, when you hear blogging and content writing, you might think it's just a lot of writing. How much visuals, videos can you add to a blog? Or you don't add those to a blog? What makes a blog more interesting and more informative and to hit the audience the way you really want it to?
I would say that all depends on your content and who your readership is. For me, being an individual blog, I post more pictures and I do video as well. A resort, depending on what their blog topic may be, or a golf cart company, for example, or tour company, it would vary the amount of pictures they would want to put depending on their topic.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of writing, what how long should it be? How short? I mean, people are just browsing through hundreds of blogs, hundreds of content. I know someone who spends a lot of time on Facebook, and I keep telling them, are you trying to find the end of Facebook? And that's not going to happen. But what have you found over your 15 years experience in blogging? It's kind of like the right mix, not too long, not too short, or perhaps is it shorter posts that get you more readership? What has worked for you?
I try to do around 300 to 500 words, and sometimes err a little shorter, like 300 or a little less. And my reason being is, throughout my process, I had a good friend, and he always used to tell me, remember, people don't like to read a lot. So if you have something that's super long-winded, unless it's like drop dead captivating, you might tend to bore people. No offense to anyone, because I say it about myself jokingly. Because I go over this with my editor too, and there's certain things that you just can't do shorter because of the nature of the content. It's important to get more out, which is why I like putting headings to break things up and make it easier. And another option for that too, a tool within WordPress and most blogs is you can put a table of contents up at the top, and it takes a bit of skill to learn, but and some people are lucky, they might have help. But you can do this, and that way people can click on what they want and go right to it instead of scrolling through your whole
Blog
post.
When blogging and doing content writing, do we have to be, in communication, we can be persuasive, informative, entertaining? What is your angle? All three? Are you more just to inform and entertain, or it depends on what you're writing and who you're writing for?
Definitely it depends on what, and I really do appreciate having a sense of humor when I can. And there's a lot of humorous, interesting things that happen around San Pedro, so I try and bring that in, because anybody who's traveled there, and especially repeat visitors, definitely get that sense of things. But again, depending on what you're doing, varies as to the tone you're going to apply to your blog.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect. I had one final question before we take a break. I think one of the biggest differences, and a lot of viewers perhaps that are watching tonight may not know this, but writing online is a little different than writing for offline, right? I don't know if you agree with me, but I think the way you structure a blog is a little different than if you would be writing for a newspaper. Could you share what has been your experience with, if you have any, in terms of writing online and offline?
Offline for me is more just when I'm writing personally, or if it's business related, but not something that's generally going to go into print. Although I have done some magazine articles for Belize News Exchange magazine, and basically I didn't find much of a difference. However, the reason for that is because I went in with an article in mind and I pitched them and they accepted. So other than maybe giving me a word count, which I don't even recall them doing, I just basically pitched them and said I have an idea, and when I got a yes, I went ahead and I wrote the article and provided them with pictures.
Okay.
We want to thank Laurie for being here with us tonight. It's always a pleasure to have somebody with us who is actually doing a blog or doing what we're talking about. So we thank you, Laurie, for joining us from San Pedro, and we hope that our audience is gaining a lot of insight into what blogging and content writing is all about. We'll be right back after this short break.
member of the Galen Eagle Alumni Association. Reconnect with your fellow classmates, rediscover the Galen Eagle spirit, and reawaken your inner eagle. Come home, come celebrate. 20 years of excellence with Galen University. For more information, contact 636-8881.
Galen University offers a variety of quality academic programs. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or give us a call at 615-3129 or 614-6415 for more information. Apply today and come soar with our Galen Eagles.
It's never too late to accomplish your dreams. Apply today. Come soar with the Galen Eagles. To learn more about our various programs, contact us at 824-3226, 615-3129, or 614-6415. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz. Galen University, promoting academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning.
Welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're in the third segment of tonight's show. We're talking with Laurie, Taco Girl. Maynor Larrieu is here with us. He's our guest host. We're talking digital marketing, but particularly focusing on content writing and blogging. So I want to welcome you back to tonight's show. And Maynor, can you take it from here?
Thank you. Laurie, thank you for being with us. I think a lot of people take writing sort of lightly. And I actually had the opportunity to interview Lily Germa, who's editor at large at Skiff. And she had some very good points to share with you. So we're going to ask production to play the video. Hello, digital marketeers. Thanks for tuning in again for another episode with us. Today we have Lily Germa, editor at large at Skiff, and she has vast experience in content writing. Thank you for joining us today, Lily. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Maynor. I'm doing great.
Perfect, thank you. And one of the questions a lot of the digital marketers do reach out to us often is they want to know if they're just getting started, they're just getting their wet feet, or maybe look at it this way. What would your advice be to yourself 10 years ago, or when you started with content writing? I mean, it was very early on,
Yes.
2011, I think a lot of bloggers, I think we hadn't coined the word influencers as yet.
No.
So tell us about what would be one advice. Not that you look back, as you have a vast experience in content writing.
Yes, I do. So as you said, I started creating Belize content actually in 2010 when I launched my own blog. And that was around the time that blogs were starting to take off. As you said, there were no influencers then. And I, from there, created content for the Belize Tourism Board. I think what I would tell myself is perhaps to really go for what you believe in, in terms of what speaks to you, the kind of content that you think resonates with you will resonate with your audience, and you'll attract the people that are interested in what you're attracted to. So I would really say start with a strategy. I didn't really have a specific strategy. Okay. All I wanted to do was really share a more immersive and sustainable type of tourism in the Caribbean, and including Belize. So I loved covering like cultural stories and nature activities, adventure activities. I did a lot of when I was a road warrior, as you know, and all of that really is green tourism. And so I knew that's what the message I wanted to send, but I don't think I started out with a specific strategy. So today I was teaching, you need to have a mission statement. Mm-hmm. And from that mission statement, you have your specific content pillars and topics that you talk about, and you don't steer away from that, and it keeps you focused and it keeps you productive. And I think I just went with what was speaking to me, and it worked. But at the same time, I think I would have been a lot more effective faster
Got you. So from what I understand, from what you're saying is having a solid content strategy would have helped you maybe elevate and engage and have a larger reach.
Yes.
So perfect. One more question. Tell me a little bit about, and this is something that I know a lot of young entrepreneurs that want to start with content writing. It can be so scary, right? And then that scary is one. It can be something very, there's something called content block whenever you don't know what to write about. What would be your advice to someone who is still in between? I want to open my blog, but I don't know how the frequency or what's the objective of opening my blog. Most times than not, it's always out of passion, because of what you like and you do, and you find your way. But when you're an entrepreneur, you wear many hats.
Yeah.
So it might become difficult. What advice would you give them?
So one advice I would give is to give yourself grace and patience as you're creating your blog, because it really does take time to get traction when you're new to blog writing, and so don't expect to have I don't know how many followers right away. It's going to take time to build your reputation, to build your expertise, to get people to trust you and trust your content. So just keep creating the content. As far as the fear of the actual writing, I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of taking writing workshops. There are writing workshops for beginners that are geared to travel as well. Since the pandemic, especially, there's so much stuff online. On online platforms that are teaching platforms. There are lots of travel journalists that are teaching also online, selling their courses, at an affordable rate. Okay. And just getting those nuts and bolts of writing and style will help you sort of unblock those fears and produce the content. Another thing is that you have to conquer the fear of putting yourself out there, right? Because when you're writing, you're putting yourself out there.
All right.
But a lot of content today is about that. It's about having a strong voice that distinguishes you from everyone else. And you have to own that voice.
Correct.
You can't shy away from it. And there's training for that too. There's training for speaking on video. There's training, and it gets expensive. But if you can get it when you come to these types of workshops that BTB is putting on, it's a great idea to network with those people who do that for a living. And tap into their, not build a relationship with them. Maybe get them to be a mentor. It's really important.
And last question, I know you went through, now that you mentioned having that mentorship, especially when you started, you were part of Matador EU. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and how that perhaps helped to get you started, because I think a lot of times we're scared to do things, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and you don't kind of have that hand holding to guide you. And a lot of times you're doing so many things, but at the same time, you don't know if you're doing it the right way.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that program and how that helped you.
Sure. So the collaboration that the Belize Tourism Board had with Matador Network, as you know, was really unique in that Matador sent bloggers year-round to come and produce content in Belize. But what was great about it is that I had an editor, Julie Colazzo, who not only hired me for one of those jobs in Belize, but she was always there to give feedback. So whatever content I produced, she could tell me this is great, or this is how you can do it better. And I felt like I could always reach out to her with any sort of question. I also had another mentor who also happened to be an editor at Matador, and she's actually, to this day, she's a friend. She's a very good friend. And she's always been ready and available to give me advice as well. Because it's true, I really didn't know whether I was doing it right or what the opportunities were. If I was receiving a job, I didn't know if the rate was acceptable or not. And I could really approach these people, these mentors, and ask them. Just, and building that relationship has been critical to where I am today. I don't think I would have even stayed that long in the industry if I didn't have these mentors who were editors. Wow. So I can't stress that enough. Find someone who speaks to you and who you relate to, who's willing to put in that time with you or to be available to help you, elevate your work. We all get here because somebody opened the door.
Agree.
And I think that we underestimate how many people are willing to mentor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. There you have it, guys. Lily Karma, editor at Skiff.
Thank you so much, Maynor.
Thank you.
It's great being here.
All right, perfect. And I think that was a great interview with Lily. I've known Lily for quite some time since she came to Belize in her early time of her career, and I've seen her grown rapidly. And I think one of the key points that stood out for me was that mentorship. You know, somebody who is there to guide you, whether it's a person or a couple of persons. I think letting you know, hey, you know what, you're going in the right direction. And, you know, I can specifically relate to that because more specifically for me in the digital marketing world, I think looking back, you know, I've done so many things and I wish I had a mentor that said, you know what, you don't need to take this road. This other road will take you there faster. But, you know, with digital marketing, especially in its early stages, it was such a wide landscape, and you know everything was just forming out. But I think having a mentor that would guide you in the right path, who's been in that same path, I think really helps. I don't know what you think, Laurie.
I totally agree with that. And when I started my blog, again, not knowing, I started on a free site called Blogger. Had I known now what I knew then, I never would have done that, and I would have gone straight to .com.
Yeah.
Now, my ex designed my website and helped me on the tech end, so I was very grateful, and neither one of us knew any better at the time, so we cannot fault ourselves. However, I reached out to a mentor that I found on the internet, a very well-known blogger at the time, Ashley Morgan, and I asked him about going to a .com. And he gave me all the confidence I needed and just said, that's going to be like sprinkling magic fairy dust on your blog. And that goes back to all the invisible side of the SEO and the things that most people take for granted about blogging and getting Google to fall in love with you. So mentors, very useful.
If I may, Lily said something that sticks with me and struck a chord, and I think you mentioned it. She said patience and being gracious.
Yes.
I guess stick-to-itiveness when you start a blog. Do you want to comment on that?
Yes, because blogging can be a bit of a challenge, and a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to start a blog and whatever intentions they have, and then they kind of fade out fast. Mm-hmm. So you really need to be sure about what you want to do and plan yourself out well to give yourself the best chance of success. And build within yourself. For example, posting once a week is a good minimum to go with, and try not to stress yourself out over it. However, if you were able to and had time, you could build up a stock for when you started so that you're ready to just roll out. As you keep continuing generating content, you have stuff that's ready to go and you can just
push it out.
Keep going.
Fantastic. This has been a wonderful discussion. I think we're almost out of time. I want to ask Maynor, were there any other questions you wanted to ask?
No, maybe just an addition, and I think piggyback riding on what you said, Larry, and I think we didn't touch on it yet. I think that content diet, right? I think your followers, you kind of get them used to, feeding them once a week, right? So you need to be consistent and frequent. And that may vary depending on the type of blog that you develop, right? I mean, if it's something about tech reviews, you might be more frequent because there's so many more updates. But if you're doing blogs on maybe sustainability, there might be larger piece stories that may not be as frequent. So I think pacing yourself too when you are developing a blog, just so you don't run out of content or you're not giving your audience enough or too much or too little might not be a good thing. So I think just keep that in mind whenever you're planning to start a blog. Also plan how frequent and how sustainable it can be, so that you have the right content diet. That's what I call it.
Absolutely. And I would also like to reference what Lily said about writing courses. great option. Over COVID, I happened upon a site called Pink Pangea, and they offer, and it's mostly geared around women, but they offer really low cost, very short writing courses, which are a great way to, number one, get with the community. They give you a writing prompt, and so it's live and online, and it costs 12 US generally is the range of their courses,
Wow.
so very affordable. And the other benefit to them is, of course, is that it's strategic because they're also willing to publish on their blog. So if you do something good that's applicable for their travel blog, you not only will learn and grow from your writing, but you stand a chance to network with them and get link exchange.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Yeah, so this brings us to the end of our show tonight. Lots of wonderful information if you're considering blogging. Definitely good information for content writing. And I hope you're all going to glean and take away something positive from tonight's show. I thank Laurie so very much for joining us. Maynor, it's always a pleasure as well. The Galen Hour is a production of Galen University. We air on Wednesday nights here on Love FM. We're streamed live on Galen's Facebook page and on Love's Facebook page. We thank you for joining us. See you same place, same time next week. Have a good night.
Become a member of the Galen Eagle Alumni Association. Reconnect with your fellow classmates. Rediscover the Galen Eagle spirit and reawaken your inner eagle. Come home, come celebrate. 20 years of excellence with Galen University. For more information, contact 636-8881.
Galen University offers a variety of quality academic programs. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or give us a call at 615-3129 or 614-6415 for more information. Apply today and come soar with our Galen Eagles.
It's never too late to accomplish your dreams. Apply today. Come soar with the Galen Eagles. To learn more about our various programs, contact us at 824-3226, 615-3129, or 614-6415. Visit our website at www.galen.edu.bz or email us at admissions@galen.edu.bz. Galen University, promoting academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning.